Good afternoon, everyone. Today is December 2nd, 2022. My name is Cash Moses, and I am the Procurement Director for the Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans Procurement Department. This is the Selection Committee meeting for the RFP for financial software and services. I would like to inform everyone that this meeting is being recorded. If you are on Microsoft Teams, please be sure to mute your mic so there are no interruptions. At this time, we'll do a roll call of the Selection Committee. Please introduce yourself and state your department or company.
Ray Lewis, CFO.
Caitlin Timrack, Business Services.
Kathy Smith, IT.
Tamika Hyde, I'm the analyst to the CFO.
Hello, Teresa Matthews, I'm the Finance Director.
Irma Plummer, EDBP, DBE Director.
Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans has a consulting firm of Plant Moran for this project. Can Plant Moran please introduce themselves? You're on team.
Hi, I am Tracy Rao from Plant Moran. I'm the project manager.
And Mark Warner as well from Plant Moran.
And Mia St. Martin with Luther Spate & Company, a DBE for Plant Moran.
Thank you. The Selection Committee invited the following 5 proposers for a software presentation. That was AST Corporation, Cherry Road, ESC Partners, who all had Oracle, Infor, and RSM. The following vendor decided to withdraw from any further consideration, and that was Tyler Tech. The purpose of this meeting is for the Selection Committee to score the 5 shortlisted proposals. The Selection Committee will be scoring by consensus. Sewage and Water Board representatives were present during the presentations for their department module. They will now present their pros and cons for their department's module. Kirk, you wanted to go first?
Yes. I'm representing technology, so I'm going to go through.
So say your name and your department.
Oh, okay, sorry. Name is Kirk Bowie. I'm the project manager for the implementation. All right, sorry. Name is Kirk. That's good?
Yeah, you did.
All right. My name is Kirk Bowie. I'm the project manager for implementation. I'm representing the IT department, and I'm going to speak on the technology of the various software highlights that I observed, and the IT department observed from each one. I'll cover each software separately. So for Oracle, the overall highlight for them is that it's a complete cloud solution within the Oracle ecosystem, separate from the others. As if you look at Microsoft, of course, they're going to be on the Microsoft ecosystem. And then we'll talk about Infor. They're using the Amazon technology for their cloud system. Also for Oracle, it is a unified system, meaning all of their products are contained within the Oracle stack. Oracle has a single tenant data storage management. What that means is our data would not be commingled with other organizations' data. Another highlight for them is data transactions are encrypted for users. It's encrypted for file transfers, and it's also encrypted at-rest data. So while the data is just stagnant within the system, it's still encrypted. So it gives us another level of security. Oracle provides 4 updates per year on a quarterly basis. Their highlight is that in a year's basis, there's no more than 32 hours of downtime for us giving an update to the system. Another highlight for them is their pre-built integration APIs. So the APIs are pre-built, and they have several of them. So it would require less programming if we had to do a new integration outside of implementation. And another highlight I like for them for as the software technology was that it's role-based security. So, any questions before I go to the next one? Did you mention Infor in the last thing you said about? I was comparing them to Infor in the sense that. You mind repeating that again? That part? That part is that Infor uses, and I'll repeat it when I get to Infor, but the contrast is that Infor uses Amazon Web Services for their cloud implementation.
I thought you said something about role-based security.
No, I was just saying that, Oracle uses role-based security.
Do you have you have this, your presentation, you send it in, PowerPoint, do you have like a PDF or?
I can put it in PDF.
That I can print it out and so they can read along with you?
Okay,
Yeah.
want me to do that now?
Yes, print them and I have printed out there, yeah. Thank you.
Can I ask a format question?
Sure.
When Boyd Kurt was going over, he asked, was there any questions? Was that to just the panel? That wasn't to, like, me as I'm here for my module. So that question, when he asked that, that wasn't a question for me, that was a question for the panel.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Did you have a question?
No.
Okay.
But if I would, at some point, I wanted to know what the rules were.
Yes. That was for the first committee.
You have it.
Okay, thanks.
Next, Microsoft Dynamics. Highlights for them, from my notes, is their three-tier geo-disaster recovery redundancy. What that means is they're storing data in 3 different places, across the world, and they're replicating that data, which gives us an extra level of security, if something should happen. Their highlight that they gave us is that this yields a return of operations of less than 10 hours. So what that means is if the system has to go down, that they can get us back up within 10 hours. Use and integration of Microsoft business applications is built in. Of course, it's a Microsoft product, so all of their applications, so Word, Excel, anything Microsoft is actually built into their application. A good example is that across the board, there's quick exports to Excel and Word throughout the system. And also the Power BI is embedded in their application throughout. And Power BI, if you're not familiar, it's a tool for doing graphics and business intelligence reporting. All right. All of Microsoft complete cloud infrastructure, i.e. their cloud infrastructure is Azure, which is a Microsoft product. So it's all baked in with Microsoft. Like Oracle, it's a single tenant data storage management, meaning that our data is stored alone and not commingled with other organizations. They provide 8 updates per year, 2 major, 6 minor. And they also give you the ability to pause your updates up to 3 updates in 1 year. What that means is that you don't have to take an update for 3 updates, right? They have built-in customization and integration source control. What that means is they use Azure DevOps as their management tool. So any customizations, any integrations, control that we do, it would be used in Azure, and also Azure DevOps is used for the project management resource. They have a tool called Regression Suite Automation, which provides automated application and testing of updates. So what that is, that's part of their testing process, so that when it's time to do an update, you can use that tool to automatically test most of the update and then automatically also apply it. Single framework APIs are built on data entities. Data entities is more of a technical term, but for the selection committee, for your information, a data entity, so for instance, like you would say suppliers or vendors, a data entity would be pre-configured with all of the information related to a vendor. And so for a person doing an integration or a program on that API, they would just have to call that vendor entity, and all of that data is available. Next, they provide a data lake for legacy data archiving. So, as part of their solution, the data lake is already part of it, no extra cost. And so that's a solution for us to archive like all of the history data, going back 20 years if we wanted to. One, I guess you would say, con observation for them is they have limited public utility customers. Of all the software that we saw, they had the less number of public utility implementations. Okay, that's Microsoft. And then last, Infor, technology observations. Contrast, whereas Microsoft had 3-tier geo, Infor has 2-tier geo, meaning they're storing in 2 geographical locations for as the data is and redundancy. As I mentioned earlier, their cloud infrastructure is built on Amazon Web Services. So unlike Oracle and Microsoft, they go outside of their system to have a cloud implementation. Also, unlike Oracle and Microsoft, they are a multi-tenant data storage management. I consider this a con because your data is commingled with other organizations' data. Also, they have monthly updates of the software, whereas Oracle had quarterly, Microsoft had a total of 8 updates. They have 12 updates, so it's monthly updates that they do to their system. They also use role-based security. One neat thing about them is that they include restrictions by organization within that security strategy. And they also have what's called role-based home pages. They also provide mobile access, so you can have access most of the system on your phone. They provide an automated workflow that's built in. It's not extra. It's built into their product. They also have something that's called visual low-code integration. So basically, instead of someone having to, say, program in C+ or C# or some programming language to do an integration, it's basically just graphical and you're moving things around on the screen. They also provide a data lake for the legacy data archiving. Strong suit about them, they have 110 public utility customers. So of the 3 softwares that we looked at, zooming in on public utilities, companies just like ours, they had the most installs. Now, all of them said that they did public sector, but companies just like ours, organizations just like ours, they had the most. Their system was built for public sector, so out of the box, that's what they built the system for. Another con for them, their budget and reporting solutions required multiple vendors for that solution. So they had vendors outside of Infor, and it was multiple to provide a budgeting and reporting solution. That's it.
Thanks, Kurt. All right, so next we'll go for a general ledger and bank reconciliation. I'll print it out for you. You want to come read it? Come on up. You can sit right here. Welcome to the mic.
Hi, my name is Renelle from Finance. I'm the accounting and bank reconciliation. On behalf of Bank Recon and General Ledger, my opinion is I feel like all 3 of them would provide the same, the performance process is the same with all 3 of them. I just kind of feel like M4 gave a little more detailed information on what they could do as far as bringing over the banking information directly from the bank. Oracle, their pros was they had the ability to perform automated bank reconciliations. They had the ability to import the entry from Excel, meaning we could perform the entry in Excel and just import it over to the system. They had the ability to save the journal entries for reoccurring, entries also. They also had the ability to set up automated reversals. The cons with Oracle, like I said, they weren't very detailed in what, their software could perform. They did not explain the process of bringing the banking information, over from the software. With Microsoft Dynamics, they had the ability, as with the others, to, perform automated bank reconciliations. They also had the ability to perform, the general ledger process by bringing the, journal entries over from Excel into the system. Their con was they did not, explain in detail about bringing the banking information over also to, their system. With Infor, their con was they, had the ability to import the journal entries from Excel. They also had the ability to upload the banking transactions from the bank into their software, where we will be able to perform, bank reconciliations on a weekly, daily basis just by uploading the banking information into their software. And I think that's it.
Y'all have any questions for Renee? Okay. All right, I'm not even talking to the mic myself. So next, we have Mr. Joseph.
Mr. Joseph, okay. Good morning, everybody. Good evening, everybody. I'm Dexter Joseph. I'm with the Budget Department. And I like to say that everyone that introduced their product to us was so far ahead of what we have right now, light years ahead. So it wasn't hard to amaze me and astound me with what their product did. Everybody was up to date. Our system is maybe 25 years old, and I don't know if we actually have a budget module per se. So I was impressed just with what a system could do compared to what I have right now, because I'm more of a prehistoric age. But for the format, and also I like to say when I sit in here, I didn't really know I would be doing this analysis, so I had to do a lot of catching up. So I went back and looked at everybody's presentation, so it took me a long time. So everything's sort of fresh in my head. So when in viewing, I'll start with Info, again, saying that their system was light years ahead of everything, but the cons were that it was a third party for the budget module, then it was a third party for the report that I need to produce at the end of the year to give to GFOA. So that's a con that I couldn't really get over. So for that reason, Info I didn't like. Outlook seemed to be more easier interface within the system.
Dexter,
You said Outlook, but you meant
I meant-
Dynamics.
you meant the Microsoft solution, correct?
Microsoft solution.
Okay, all right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I mean. Microsoft. Who does? All right. So I meant Microsoft, y'all. So Microsoft definitely was more seamless within the system, and light years ahead. But I still they didn't flush out enough to me, and I think I needed to be more proficient, and my staff needed to be more proficient in Excel than I would have liked to be, meaning maybe building pivot tables or something like that. So they didn't fully explain that to me, so that turned me off because my staff needs more work with Excel, and I'm not looking to do all that. So that was the con for Microsoft. So Oracle, again, had the bells and whistles that everybody else had, but the pros for them was, to me, everything was there. It was more seamless with building business cards, where I can point to a business card for budget, and then in that I can go to revenues, expenses, personnel. It just was more of a seamless maneuvering to get to the things that I needed, without trying to go somewhere else to do it. Then, as far as what I just mentioned about the Excel statements and bringing stuff in, they had this thing called a business rule or something like that, whereas the implementer or somebody would help me write a rule, and then that rule would substitute for like an Excel formula, and it would run things for me. And I can use those business rules over and over and over again without recreating the wheel. That would save me so much time and my staff so much time that really impressed me. So it was the business rule, the workflow that I could track progress on what people were doing. If I disseminated the budget to other departments, I can track it by workflow, but I can also track it by version. There was this concept that I needed to get more on, but it was predictive planning, that it would take information over a series of actual time and predict it. You can forecast off it. It would forecast off it for you. Then you can make analysis off the forecast based on the information being in the general ledger. That also would save me time to running scenarios, annualizing information and trying to predict stuff, then going back to look at why things were changing. I could just go back and look at why things were changing because they've already predictively done this for me. So, in conclusion, as far as the budget department is concerned, Oracle is the suite that we would love to have. So,
Thank you, Dexter. So, next would be, for purchasing, so I'll be speaking for that one. So for Oracle, for my pros, for vendor management, they can capture DBE, and they can link from the Sewage and Water Board website to vendor registration into their system. For the requisitions, they have a punch-out catalog. They can do, bid tabulations off of informal and formal bids. And for budgeting out of requisitions, they can do a reservation of funds for purchase orders either at the requisition or the purchase order level. So no encumbrances. So, for reports, we can create our own reports to share. So we do have that kind of accessibility. And in contract management, we can create contract numbers and it can be auto-generated, and we have the ability to share the contracts externally. So for my cons, for the requisition, the user, or it would be us, we were not able to mass close purchase orders. We would have to contact the implementer in order to close purchase orders at the end of the year or at the beginning of the next fiscal year, which can be cumbersome. They also will have the ability to have Adobe Sign in 6 months, which they don't have now, but that's 6 months of, we don't even know if that's 6 months, wherever it's going to be. So the ability is there, but the fact is not there. The solicitation, unfortunately, we weren't able to get to see their solicitation model for bids, which is a big part of all of our contracts, and for like capital and things like that, especially connecting a bid to the capital and to purchase orders. So we weren't able to see their solicitation. Also, for contract management, it does not track revisions in the software, and that's not even like the revisions like actually in the document, but actually like who touched it last kind of thing. So if somebody went and changed a date or anything like that, it's not trackable because we want to see who touched it last. Also, I didn't see the system as really user-friendly. There's a lot of clicks that you have to get to the next task or to complete one task. There was a lot of clicks in it to actually complete a task. And one thing they did say, as far as the implementers, that they're not configurable. It's kind of like their software is out the box and this is what you get. So that's what I felt about Oracle. I shouldn't say I felt about, that's what, that's what I've observed with Oracle. Okay, thank you. So for RSM, for their pros, for the vendor management, found it easier to navigate. Everything was in one screen and you just scroll down and to fill in everything. It was easier. They can report 1099s and print on the form because we have that issue every year.
Just wanted, for the record, RSM was representing Microsoft.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Microsoft D365. The software can report 1099s. We can report 1099s and it can print on the form, which is a good thing for us. They can create alerts for certificates of insurance, which we also need, and it has the ability to add attachments into the vendor registration. For requisitions, they can set up for bids only with putting in a requisition. They can do internal catalogs. We can specify and change workflow approvers, can process purchase orders that do not encumber to the budgeted amount. That's also a plus. They can set up payment schedules with purchase orders, which also will not encumber that way. Can set up purchase agreements, can do change orders to capital projects. So then for contract management, am I talking too fast? Okay. They can create a configurable management system for a sewage and water board, which they kind of showed us in the end, as far as that was concerned, and they can produce commodity contracts. For employee reimbursement, they can be included on a payroll check. They can do check requests through a requisition, and they offer travel requisitioning. And then for the reports, they have so many reports in their package that you kind of have to worry about trying to create something, probably something that's already created, and they are customizable / configurable for our sewage and water board. So we do have the ability to actually go back and kind of create what we need to create without it being like a no-no, or you can't do that, or probably, let me just say it like that. So the cons that I had for the contract management, it wasn't a very robust system for the current package, that we either would have to configure or it may not be, for sewage and water board for their contract management part of it. So for N4, so the pros for N4 for requisition, they offer separate approvals for requisitions and purchase orders, which we do have separate approvals for that. They do have Adobe Sign for purchase orders, and it can do mass purchase order release for blanket orders. So at the beginning of the year, when we have to release orders to get invoices paid, that we can release it from like a previous year, which is great. You can copy from a previous year to a new year, which is great. For receiving, the end user has an ability to receive all at one time, and notification of over-receipt can be sent to the buyer. So if there's an overage on a shipment and we need to add it to the purchase order, at least it sends it to the buyer to let them know, like, hey, this needs to be added, or anything like that. So for reports, they can report KPIs, which is important, especially in my department. And for contract management, they can store a repository of documents, and they can link the document repository to purchase orders. So for the cons for vendor management, I find it confusing for the use of titles of supplier and vendor, which we kind of interchange those things for supplier and vendor, but they use it as two different things, which I'm thinking may be confusing into their system. For requisitions, having multiple requests on one requisition will cause confusion. So if I have a requisition that has a contract, a punch out, something has to go to bid, they filled it all in one requisition, like that confuses part of like, where's all this gonna go and how do you keep up from, tracking back to your requisition? How do you keep up with that? I find it a little bit confusing, and probably would be confusing to end users at Sewage and Water Board when they're entering a requisition. For receiving, the end user has the ability to receive all at one time, so I use that as a pro and a con, because when you receive all at one time into those systems, you can't go back and unreceive. So that's a con, because like if you made a mistake, you received everything, so now you got to go actually do some kind of other entry to actually unreceive that. And the returns process is too open-ended. It's like you would have to make sure that the vendor is kind of set up in order to make sure that return got taken care of in the system, which we handle returns out of the system, but it's like that was too open-ended as far as like how their returns are processed in the receiving part. I didn't find the system to be very user-friendly, but probably more user-friendly than I found Oracle to be. But, and they also said that theirs wasn't, configurable, their software was not configurable, you kind of get what you get. So that is what I had for procurement. So next, we will go to contract management.
Okay, my name is Noelle Jamore with the legal department, and, I'm gonna get started with our observations. I will go ahead and start with Oracle. First of all, actually, I do wanna say I have been looking because we, in our department, we implemented a program for tracking our own, contracts and among other things, and matter management as well. So I have had exposure to a lot of standalone contract management systems. To be honest, I don't think any of these are the best contract management. There are better options available. It's not bad to combine, to have multiple sources and multiple, external vendors and things like that, as long as they integrate. But the problem is that you have a sort of a jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing with a lot of these big, combined, consolidated platforms. And so that's just one thing that I would like to note at the outset. So with that said, Oracle, I like the ability to, our group, like the ability to build contracts within the environment, to track contract changes, the ability to compare text within the system. Now, on the con side, contract tracking did not, you couldn't tell who made the edits. You couldn't keep track of, like Cash said, who was touching the contract, just what changes were made. So in order to be able to see who made edits, we were told that they have to open them separately in Word, track the changes, accept and upload back to the ERP, which is our old way of doing things. It doesn't really help us much. So there was an impressively wide variety of tracking parameters that are built into the system. The end user can choose what they want to track and set up all those parameters and get also alerts, notifications, a wide range of just all kinds of, let me see, there was tracking of debarment, tracking of all kinds of other retainage, encumbrances. But the problem with that is that massive variety of built-in options is all right up there on the page. It's all there in the system, which when you see all of those options available, it can be overwhelming. It looks cluttered. It looks complicated. I think your end users are going to have trouble. They're just going to probably be intimidated by it right off the bat. Now, is it powerful? Yeah, it's powerful. But all those options do have a drawback. It's not the kind of thing where you can, it's all right out there in front of your face. And then the other big con was that it does not yet, but will, quote unquote, soon support Adobe Sign. So RSM, in contrast to Oracle, had a very familiar Office-like interface because it's Microsoft. So it's the most, probably the most user-friendly, I think. Allows you to show related documents, so it has that, kind of linkage to all the other things that you can use. We did, in the meeting, during the presentation, everybody kind of had a big issue with the contract drafting, with the Microsoft Dynamic add-in to incorporate the fields into, he said, Excel-based initially. So that was resolved satisfactorily. It was okay, but the Excel-driven aspect of it, might be difficult for some end users who might not be as proficient in Excel as they are in other software. So, let me see. We like the ability to pull information fields from RFQ and RFP information. The auto emailing is a nice feature. The tickler system for dates and cumulative totals was good. So the pro and the con is that they are pretty sure Adobe Sign can be integrated. So yeah, if it can be integrated, great. But you know, are we going to select based on being pretty sure? What if they can't? So finally, Infor. My list is heavily loaded towards Infor, I have to say. The ability to create unlimited templates, multiple advanced search criteria. So in contrast to Oracle, where Oracle had all of these fields, all of these parameters right out there for the user to see, with Infor, they seem to be a little bit more layered, a little bit more, you know, you can search all of those things. You can search all the same things that Oracle can have you search, but instead of it being out there on the dashboard presented to you and often extraneous to what the end user is going to actually, extraneous to what the end user's interest is. Instead, with Infor, you can, if you want to see a certain aspect or a certain relationship or a certain document or a certain kind of, any parameter that you want to search, you can search, which was, to me, that's a better way to approach that kind of information. The dashboards they did include a lot of information, but not an overwhelming, I think, amount of information. The bid docs linkage to contracts is really good as well, and the related references where you can look up old contracts is also very useful. For contract drafting, I think this got closest to some of the other contract management software apps that I've seen. Drafting the contract in system with a specified order of clauses, of articles and terms and conditions, redlining in the system where you can track who's doing what through the vendor portal. That's also very useful. The confirmed support for Adobe Sign, the ability to attach and add comments, the comments, internal and external. You can have staff only, you know, comments that are visible only to staff, and then comments that are visible to the vendor as well. That's helpful. Let me see. And the document management platform is actually pretty impressive because you can store and search, and you can meta tag those documents. So it almost becomes like a doc review, a mini doc review in your contract management. It's very useful. The alerts there are user-defined alerts, which is great because, you know, I might want different kinds of alerts than what are already built in, but the ones that are built in are also the ones that are necessary. So let me see, automatic handling of encumbrances. I like the way that DBE and local entities and things, the way that a lot of the performance, the KPIs are tracked in this. Also the evidence of payment or the ability to pay subcontractors through the vendor portal is also really useful. We didn't have many cons about Infor. Only thing was Infor, like RSM, the primary identifier is contract number, and I understand that. I think that was an issue with some of the other users, that you're identified by contract number rather than PO number. Is that?
No, it needs to be identified as its own contract number.
Oh, okay. Okay, then. So
As long as it all links together.
Okay.
I can see the contract number, the invoice, the purchase order, as long as it all links, it'd be great.
Okay, and then another thing, kind of raised an alarm for a minute during the presentation was that if a contract is accidentally closed, you have to copy the entire contract into a new, contract, and there goes your contract number. But they did mention that there can be rules assigned where nobody, most users would not have access, would not have the ability assigned to close a contract. So that was about it.
Thanks, Noel.
Thank you.
Ms. Angela, you're next. I, put all yours on one page. My bad.
Good evening, I'm Angela Williams, the Supervisor of Accounts Payable. Like Mr. Joseph said earlier, we did not really review the presentations at looking at pros and cons. We're really reviewing them just to see what they could do. But I did speak with my staff, so we came up with a few pros and cons that we noticed. The one start with Oracle. The pros of Oracle, as far as AP is concerned, that all the invoices are processed in one system. There's no need to use a secondary system to transfer invoices from one to the other, which is a big deal with us in AP. The transactions will automatically be checked for accuracy. Even before we would have to look at it, it's already going through checks to check them. Their payment schedule, they were able to work with our payment schedule the way we schedule payments out, looking at the bank accounts, looking at the budgets also. Oracle could also track retainages and produce reports that we need for year-end audits. The 1099 processes and forms, updated forms are included. There are real-time updates to the balances, which we like. And we also can pay our utility bill, which is a major thing, through spreadsheets. You can download the spreadsheet directly into Oracle. We really did not come up with any cons at this time based on what we saw for Oracle. RSM,